I'm going to be comparing the Fast and the Furious franchise to the Neverending Story franchise. Reason for this is in part one of this series when I compared Fast and the Furious to Rambo, Fast and the Furious 1 when I compared Neverending Story to Highlander, Neverending Story 1. So I'm going to be comparing these two franchises. We look at highest score for each one. In the case of Fast and the Furious, F7, the one where Paul Walker famously passed away before they had finished shooting all his scenes, is the one with the highest score. That movie has an 82%. In the case of Neverending Story, unsurprisingly, the original film from 1984 is the highest score of 84%. When you look at lowest score, Neverending Story 2 only has a 14%. In the case of Fast and the Furious, not a lot of these movies are actually fresh from Rotten Tomatoes. 11 movies have come out, and 4 of them are fresh. Right now, the fourth movie has the lowest score of only 29%. Fast and the Furious wins this round. And then when you look at average score, Neverending Story only has an average of 41. Fast and the Furious has an average of 58. When you look at gap between lowest and highest score, in the case of Fast and the Furious, you're talking about a gap of 53. In the case of Neverending Story, it's a gap of 70. Fast and the Furious wins again, so we'll be winning this debate because it's won 3 of the rounds so far. When we look at my personal opinion, I haven't actually seen any of the Fast and the Furious movies. It feels to me like the filmmakers know who their audience is. They know what people are going to enjoy these movies. Honestly, Fast and the Furious is not something that's particularly deep or complex. It feels to me like the people making Fast and the Furious know they're putting out big budget B movies. It's just, hey, let's have fun making these dumb, ridiculous movies that are very enjoyable but not all that good. So it's not too surprising to me that not a lot of these movies are fresh from Rotten Tomatoes, because in most cases, not with every single one of the movies, it's hey, let's deliver dumb, schlocky fun that makes it so these movies are really easy to consume, easy to digest without being all that good. They're dumb, fun popcorn movies. Whereas something like, say, Rocky is definitely deeper, has more character stuff going on than Fast and the Furious. Or, yeah, you have Dom's family, sure, but the movies are not obviously not trying to be character studies. They're not trying to be dramas. You have ridiculous stuff going on, especially with cars in space, but even beyond that, I mean, cars jumping through buildings, being attached to a helicopter, Dwayne The Rock Johnson wielding a machine gun while holding onto a chain, all this kind of ridiculous stuff. Fast and the Furious 7 is known as one of the better movies in this franchise, and it's more well known than the other ones because famously Paul Walker tragically died before the movie was finished, before his scenes were done. And a lot of people would agree that when you watch the movie, it feels like the filmmakers did a good job of making a fitting and respectful tribute to both Paul Walker as well as the character he played in these movies. So that when Fast 7 ends, you go, yeah, that was good. They got the most important thing right. Now, when it comes to Fast 10, that movie definitely ended up underperforming at the box office. 2023 was famously the year of the flopbusters. When it comes to Neverending Story, I like the idea here. I like the premise. It's pretty creative. The idea that you have this book that has magic to it, where someone reads the never-ending story and they get like transported to the world of Fantasia and what's going on in Fantasia has some influence on the real world. Also, if someone else reads the never ending story, they can change what happens to suit their own ends. Like in the third movie, you see this group of bullies take the book and try to use it for their own purposes, try to use it to take out this kid they don't like. I'm a big fan of that original movie. It's rather fun, entertaining, good visuals, a good lead character in the form of Sebastian, engaging story. Are the sequels as good as the first film? No, I wouldn't say so. Admittedly, when you get to the third Neverending Story movie, it is true that you're going, really? There are these kids that are this horrible? They're allowed to be at this school? That strains some credibility. I still overall had fun with Neverending Story 2 and 3. I mean, I like that, for example, in the third film, you have our lead character starting at a new school. He's trying to fit in there. Plus, he has this sister, but at first, he's like, well, you're not really my sister. And then, as the movie goes on, he realizes more and more, yeah, I do actually care about her, love her. Yes, she is my sister. And in the second movie, you have this arc for Bastion where he realizes his dad really cares about him, which is kind of an extension of the first film. And in there, you have Bastion and his dad not really connect not connecting all that well at first, but second film it's more obvious that at first Bastion doesn't think his dad actually cares about him. Then as the movie goes on, he realizes, yeah, my dad actually does care about me. Personally, I would choose in this case Neverending Story. Of course, a big reason for that is I've actually seen these movies. Admittedly, with Fast and the Furious, I like that the filmmakers know who their audience is and are just focused on delivering for them. They know that inherently not everyone is going to enjoy Fast and the Furious. It's going to be too dumb for some people out there. Well, for others, it's like, yes, this is my kind of dumb. But overall, I think people would agree that there's been some diminishing returns after the seventh movie. What is interesting, I will say, is if you go back and watch the first few Fast and the Furious movies, they feel restrained compared to more recent installments. They're just not as over the top. They're not as much anyway about just delivering dumb schlocky fun, being big budget B movies, popcorn movies that are easy to watch, easy to digest and consume. I'll wrap things up for this video.